I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're journeying through the pages of adventure, laughter, and the spirit of exploration with L.A. Florrie's wonderful book. It is called Europe on a G-String for summer lovers everywhere. It is a tale of three friends who dared to break free from the monotony of their lives to embark on a European adventure that promises more than just scenic views. It promises a voyage of self-discovery, friendship, and the essence of living. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank our team at Prime 7 Media for helping us put her in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her wonderful book. The links are below this interview. LA, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Logan. It's wonderful to be on Spotlight. Thank you so much for your wonderful invitation. I'm very excited.
Well, we're excited to have you here. This is quite an adventure you've written. Europe on a G-string. Is it inspired at all by a real life chapter of your past?
Yes, it is. The inspiration of the book actually was the journey itself.
Mhm.
As you said previously, two girlfriends and myself took time off work. This is back in the 80s when you didn't really kind of do those risque things. We
Yeah.
thought, let's get away from this boring, mundane corporate job and let's go to Europe. So the three of us toddled off to Europe. We didn't know where we were going.
Mhm.
Um, we just knew we wanted to head to Europe. And so we got on a plane and we went in that northerly direction. And the things that happened to us along the way, some people say, well, you wouldn't read about it, but now you can.
That's
Yeah,
wonderful. That's
yeah.
wonderful. It's great that you took that chance, that you took that trip, that you broke out of the ordinary existence. Because if you just spent those 2 weeks or week or whatever it was at work, you'd have no idea what you did. But here you've got
No,
a great recollection and the basis of a novel. So it
it,
shows you step outside your comfort zone and you get a good reward sometimes.
you certainly do. And I think it's interesting because it wasn't just an ordinary 2 week holiday that was booked through a travel agent. You know where you're going, you know where you're staying,
Right.
you know you've got your breakfast, lunch, and dinner included. This wasn't like that. We hopped on a plane, and back then there were no mobile phones.
Right.
We didn't book ahead, so we would stop off at various places and just find our own accommodation. And the people we met along the way and the situations we found ourselves in, I mean, they were hilarious, they were funny,
Hmm.
some were a little bit iffy, let's say dangerous.
Right.
But we were in our very early 30s and we were just out for fun and adventure, and that's what we got. And I've never forgotten one story in all of the journey we had.
Hmm.
And and that's why I wrote the book. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still in my mind.
Is there a favorite adventure on this 2 week trip that you talk about in your book that you'd like to share with us?
Well, actually, Logan, it did start out as a 6 month trip.
Wow.
So it became longer than the normal 2 week vacation. We took
Right.
6 months. And so yeah, we just hopped on a plane, and as I say, we didn't know where we were going.
Hmm.
Um, but one of my favorite stories, and there are many, we got to Venice and we're just walking through those beautiful little cobblestone streets across
Hmm.
the ornate bridges. And we were looking at a shop window, looking at postcards, and we saw the reflection of three policemen behind us.
Hmm.
So we thought they looked pretty nice from the reflection. So we turned around and they said buongiorno. So we said buongiorno back.
Yeah.
And we told them we'd just arrived in Venice. And they said, would you like to come for a drink? And we thought, that's pretty nice. We just got here. How friendly are the local policemen? And so we said, sure, that would be lovely. So we followed them down around the little streets and over the bridges, and we thought, well, we've passed a lot of cafes and bars. How come we're still following them? So we get to this like little quiet laneway. So we're following them thinking, what is going on?
Yeah.
Anyway, we got to kind of like this boutique hotel, and they said, Bellas, you wait here, or we go inside. So we're thinking, okay. So they went inside, and we're standing outside thinking, what is going on? So I said, right, I'm going in to find out what's going on. So I went in,
Mhm.
and there they are. It was a hotel, a boutique hotel, and they were wanting to get a room for the afternoon for all of us. And we thought, I said, what
Amazing.
are you doing? He said, hey, Bella, we want to have a room with you all for the afternoon. No, no, we thought we were going for a drink. And so we turned and legged it, and they chased us all the way back to St. Mark's Square. They wouldn't let up. They were hot on our heels.
Amazing.
That it was at the time, it was hilarious. It's
Right.
it's
It is hilarious. I mean, that's Italy's finest. Were these three cops in uniform doing this also?
yeah, yeah.
I mean, so they're
Yes,
on duty, they're in uniform, they meet three pretty girls and they want to get a drink. So they're going to step
yeah,
over the boundary a little bit by drinking on duty. But now
yeah.
they want to do a lot more than that. They want to get a
Oh yeah.
room. And it's
Oh
just
yeah.
like, wow, welcome to Italy. That's the welcome wagon, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah. Right.
We want some afternoon delight. So we thought, no, we don't know you. I mean, there's some very risque stories in the book, but
Right.
when you're put on the spot and you don't consent and it's just
Right.
like an expectation, I don't
Yeah.
think so. They were
That,
gorgeous, but still,
right.
there are
Just moving
principles
a
that
little
you
too
have.
fast. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. That's a great story. Now, the
it is a good
characters in the
story.
book are Brooke, Claire, and Lucy. Are you still
Yes.
friends with Brooke and Claire, I guess? Those are
Oh my gosh, especially Brooke.
okay.
Claire got married and we don't see her very often, but we keep
Hmm.
in touch.
Yeah.
But Brooke is my bestie from way back. And we traveled over to Israel last year. No, not last year, 2022.
Hmm.
We traveled to Israel together and Jordan and Jerusalem. We went to the West Bank.
Hmm.
Um, so we're glad we went when we did, of course. We wouldn't be going there now, but
Yeah,
I have had some amazing adventures together. She is my soulmate, my best friend, and and she's a Gemini like me,
right,
so we think the same. Um, everything we can take the words out of each other's mouths, you
right.
know.
Finish
So we're
each
still
other's
keeping in touch.
sentences, all that stuff.
All of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 That's wonderful. Now, when you're writing the book, did you tell Brooke and did you tell Claire, hey, I think I'm going to write about that 6 months we spent in Europe?
Well, interestingly enough, Logan, when we got back and we were telling everybody about the crazy situations we found ourselves in, everyone said, well, you should write a book,
Right.
as people do. Um, and back in the day, writing a book was way down on my list of things to do. I was in my
Right.
early 30s, and when I got back, I was working full time,
Hmm.
still going out with Brooke almost
Hmm.
every night to the local clubs and still traveling.
Right.
Um, and it wasn't until years later, and I still hadn't written the book, but the
Right.
memories were still there, and we kept chatting about the funny times. And I actually, as crazy as this sounds, I read my stars in a magazine, and it said, if you're thinking of writing the book, now is the time. And
Wow.
so I thought, wow, the book. So
Yeah.
that's when I came into my home office and started typing. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're glad you did. It's quite a story. Now, there's TV shows like Sex and the City that features three young girls out and about on adventures. Have you envisioned this as a series or a movie or something like that? I mean, it's got the makings of it. You got beautiful Europe, beautiful women, great escapades. What's not to like, right? That's like a secret recipe for Hollywood right there.
Well, I think it is. And quite honestly, now that you've mentioned that, I have
Mhm.
thought about that it would make a great, I mean, you could write a series based on the characters,
Mhm.
but I think it would make a great movie.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the locations are superb. The stories are highly entertaining and
Yeah.
funny. Um, there's a lot of sex and romance in the book.
Right.
Um, I think the ingredients are absolutely perfect
Yeah.
to make that brilliant cake. You just
Absolutely.
you just get into it and love it. And
Yeah.
and I hope that when the readers read my book, I hope they'll take away a sense of fun and freedom
Hmm.
in traveling. I think as well during COVID, a lot of people obviously couldn't travel. Even after COVID,
Right.
people didn't travel. But I think reading Europe on a G-string, you can travel even if you're sitting at home in your armchair or down at the beach. It's a great book to take to the beach or
Yeah, it's a
even on a.
perfect beach read, that's for sure. Yeah,
It
without a doubt.
is.
Yeah.
It
And
is.
also the era that if I were to make this, if I was a Hollywood director and producer, I would set this in the 80s also. This
Oh yeah.
age of all this stuff, it's phones and all that, it's boring. I mean, like you
It
said, if you went today, you'd be booking your tickets on your phone, you'd be booking your hotel on your phone, you'd be reading TripAdvisor for the reviews on the restaurant. But in the 80s, we were just winging it. You know, you would go to the desk at the hotel and say, "Hey, do you have any
yeah,
accommodations for this
yeah.
tonight?" And
Yes.
maybe they did, maybe they didn't. And when they didn't, that was actually part of the fun because, okay, I didn't want to check there, but I guess we have to check there, that kind of stuff. So
Yep,
that's really,
yep,
really
yep.
fun. Did you have to
You
call up Brooke and Claire and get their advice on different adventures? Like, do you remember what happened this day or that day? Or did you use their
yes,
memories at all? Tell us about that.
yes, yes. Well, we still met very frequently after we got back from the trip.
Hmm.
And as I say, we recalled all of the stories, told all of our family and friends what happened. And I might say something, and Brooke would say, no, actually, it was this way. And I'd go, oh, yeah, that's right. So we did collaborate after we got back. Um, and we did that a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so all those talks and chats and memories were just cemented into my brain. And even now, it was like it was yesterday,
Yeah.
Logan.
Yeah.
Seriously, it was like it was
Yeah.
yesterday because the memories are still so fresh.
Yeah.
But we encountered some very strange characters along the way, as you can imagine.
That's part of
Um,
it.
we got into some really dangerous situations.
Right.
But we were in our early 30s, like I said, and really we were never scared. We always thought on the positive side of everything. And so it was never a point where, oh my God, what are we going to do next? There was always a way out. Although for
Right.
Claire, who was the Capricorn, Paula, Brooke and I were the Geminis. Claire was the Capricorn. So there was a difference in personality and feelings of certain situations.
Yeah.
In the end, Claire left probably three-quarters of the way through the journey because she
Mhm.
couldn't take it anymore
Right, right.
because of all the crazy situations.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody always leaves the party early, but that's just part of it. Um,
Someone always does.
yeah, let me
Yeah.
just ask you this because I'm sure our viewers are curious about it. What about money? What did you do 6 months in Europe? How did you pay for that? I mean, I spent
So
2 weeks in Fort Lauderdale when I was in my 20s in the 80s, and we were like we were eating at IHOP every night to get 3.99 turkey dinners or chicken dinners or something.
you might have to read about how we got out of those situations, Logan, but we did run out of money along
Okay.
the way. And
Gotcha.
we did hitchhike on a
Yeah.
very dangerous stretch of road.
Yeah.
But we were saved by an angel and a real angel. And that's a wonderful story, very heartwarming. And, but I think the whole journey evokes a sense of freedom.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm hoping that people will want to go on that journey of a
Yeah.
lifetime when they come to
Exactly.
the end of the book. And I hope they also feel a little bit warm and fuzzy at the end of the book too.
Yeah. Well, you're making me
Yeah.
feel nostalgic. I'm thinking back to my spring break back around 1985. And a bunch of guys said to me, "Do you want to go to Florida for spring break for a couple of weeks?" And I said, "Well, I applied for a credit card. If the credit card comes, I'm there." Credit card came. For 2 weeks, I just swiped the credit card. I had no money. We had
Uh,
about 9 guys sleeping in one hotel room and kept on inviting more to come on down and hang out with us. We calculated it was so cheap with so many people sleeping in one hotel room, it was cheaper than living back in New York City. So
Oh, so you could write a book about
I
that,
guess
Logan.
so. Yes. Your adventures are better. I think they
We
rather
could.
read about three pretty girls than a bunch of
Oh, thank
guys, but
you. Thank
wonderful book.
you.
Europe on a G-string for summer lovers everywhere. L.A. Flurry captures the essence of adventure, the unpredictability of travel, and perhaps most importantly, the enduring bonds of friendship that she sustains and continues to be friends with till this day. Lucy, thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Logan. It was my absolute pleasure. Have a wonderful day.
You as well. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.